In the first half of the 20th century, thrift was a way of life, both for governments and the people they govern. Benefits we take for granted didn't exist. Gordon Robertson, who worked with every prime minister from Mackenzie King to Pierre Trudeau, witnessed the changes.
We're awfully used now to the idea of Social Security and support programs. The only form of Social Security at that time, it was an old age pension introduced in 1927 for people age 70 years and over, $20 a month. There was nothing of any other kind whatever.
And we learned just how dark the days of the Great Depression really were.
Just to give an idea, the levels of unemployment in Saskatchewan, where I was brought up, were around 40%, 50%. It was similar in other parts of the country, although not as bad elsewhere as it was in Saskatchewan and Manitoba and Alberta. But it was an economic disaster. But it was not only an economic disaster, it was a human disaster. When the magnitude of the economic disaster became apparent and people were in desperate straits, it was the municipalities, not the provinces, not the federal government, the municipalities that had to develop and did develop programs of what was called relief. And relief was handled in a very humiliating way. It was absolutely means-tested in the most frugal, penny-pinching way because governments, too, were desperately hard up. Frugality was the order of the day because it had to be the order of the day. And then, of course, when we got into the war, whatever was necessary was what was done. And the handling of finance by Canada during the war, I think, was superbly well done.
In those days, governments treated public money with respect. Maxwell Henderson, who served on the Wartime Prices and Trade Board, told me how the government's wartime frugality meant taxpayers' money had to be accounted for, no matter how tiny the amount.
We had to ration a lot of things in those days, and the staff worked every night, and the question came up, they had to have supper money. So we had to go to Mr. Ilsley to get an order in council. We couldn't just pay it. And we went to Mr. Ilsley, and we thought 75 cents was a fair price for supper money. But Mr. Ilsley thought 50 cents was enough. And the matter was debated, and he actually took it to the cabinet before they paid supper money to the public service. But that was when the proper thing to do was to handle public money as it should be handled. It was trust money. It's the money of the people.
When it became clear in 1944, say, that the war was going to end and that the Allied side was going to win, planning began for post-war. And the really great determination was that there must never again be the kind of economic and human situation we had had during the 10 years of the 30s. And it's absolutely vital to understand that thinking, or you can't understand what was done after the war.
We learned that the emergency taxing powers that the federal government had acquired during the war had profoundly changed the face of the Canadian Federation and redefined federal-provincial relations. One of Quebec's leading historians explained the country's post-war transformation.
At the beginning of the war, the central government asked the provinces to give up their tax structure, so that all income taxes would be concentrated for the war effort in the hands of the central government. And when World War II was over, provinces thought they might regain some power that they had before the war. Yet after World War II, there was another euphoria. Canada was reconstructing. Canada was becoming a middle power. So there was a feeling that a modern Canada was to be built, And most provinces accepted that the federal government would continue to play an important role.